Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to go over what is essential for you guys to maintain and keep your pool clean. The most important one is going to be your test strips. What your water's telling you is the most important thing. If your chemicals are balanced, your pool's going to stay clean, it's going to stay clear, and you're not going to have nearly as many issues if your chemicals are balanced. That is the very first thing that I would always suggest to a homeowner, is to get some test strips or a test kit. Always believe what the water is telling you. If you have automation at home, that automation is basically run by a computer or electronics. It's not going to tell you the real story of your water. These test strips right here will. Our next thing is going to be a brush. This is used so we can brush our walls, brush our ledges, basically keep your walls and your ledges clean. I have a 50-50 brush here. This is 50% nylon, 50% metal. I use those on my plaster pools for the most part. For my next one, I have a nylon brush. This is what I'm going to use for a liner pool or a fiberglass pool. These are a lot easier. That metal can actually damage your liner, and it can actually scratch your fiberglass if you use one of the metal brushes. So always use your nylon for your fiberglass or your liner pools. Next thing is going to be our nets. There's two different kinds here. This one's just going to basically be flat. It's going to skim the top of your water. If you have like bugs or just small stuff that you're picking up, this one works great. If you've got a pool where you've got a tree and some leaves and things like that you're going to have to dig out of there, the leaf net's going to be better. It's got a little bit more of a basket here. We can kind of pick everything up. It goes in here, and you have less of a chance of, after you pull it out, it's going to come back off of your net here and get into your pool again. Going into next will be our pole. Our pole is going to be what we're going to basically connect our brushes and our vacuums and our accessories to. This one I use on my maintenance route. Really nice, just kind of clicks into place. It's very, very long, so that I can basically cover any size pool that I have. You don't necessarily need one like this. Any pole, just as long as it's going to reach across your pool and make it efficient for you to clean, is going to be great for you. Into my vacuum stuff, I've got a hose that's going to connect to our skimmer. Again, this one has different sizes and different feet. So you're going to go anywhere from like a 20-footer all the way up to a 50-footer, and it's all dependent on how big your pool is. Just make sure you've got something that's long enough to where you can cover your whole pool. And then into my vacuums. These roller vacuums here are great. They work awesome for like a plaster pool. They'll work on the fiberglass and the liner pools, but they tend to stick to the bottom of the liner pools and the fiberglass pools when you're trying to roll them, whereas the plaster is a little more coarse and it'll let it roll across that plaster a little easier. This one here is the one that I like for the liner pools and the fiberglass pools. It's got a little brush on the bottom, so it'll kind of that brush kind of keeps it from sticking to the bottom of the pool and will not damage your pool either. These ones here do have wheels, so a liner pool you may stay away from on the roller vacuums here. So those are your essentials, what you're definitely going to need to kind of keep your pool clean, keep the debris and the dirt out of it. There are some other things here I'm going to show you that will help you if you have some algae problems, help you keep your tiles clean, things like that. So first one I'm going to show you, this is a solid metal brush. We use these mostly to get the algae out of plaster pools. So if you've got some algae spots or some green that's kind of growing on your walls, these work great to kind of brush those out. Again, this one's metal. You do not want to use this on a fiberglass, which it will scratch it, and you definitely don't want to use it on a liner pool because it will poke holes in that liner. Then we'll go to my tile cleaning utensils. I've got basically like a Scotch-Brite pad here. This one's gonna work great for cleaning your calcium lines, the stuff that's a little bit harder, that kind of gets onto your tile. That's gonna be your thick white kind of lines and things like that on your tiles. Your next one is going to be my magic eraser. This is just a Mr. Clean straight from the Walmart or wherever it is that you get your groceries. And this works great for your scum line. So, you know, when you're getting in the pool with sunblock and perfumes and body oils and things like that to get on your tiles, this one's going to work great. You just basically nice and easy, not a ton of pressure to get that off. I use this a lot. This is basically a salt tester. If you have a salt pool, it does help. It's a digital one. They do sell strips as well that you can kind of test your salt. As a technician, it helps me to just kind of dip this in and see where my salt level's at if I have a salt pool. Now I'm going to go into my chemicals. We'll go over basically your must-haves, and then we'll start into the stuff that kind of helps and keeps your pool a little cleaner and things like that. This one here is going to be my muriatic acid, probably the most important thing that you're going to need. This is going to control your pH. It's going to keep your pH in balance where it needs to be. When you get in the pool, when you get dirt, basically anything that gets into your pool is going to make your pH rise. This is what's going to bring your pH down, muriatic acid. Next one's going to be our sanitizers. Depending on your pool, we've got salt pools, we've got chlorine pools, we've got your floaters, things like that. So if you have a 3-inch tab floater that you use or a chlorine tower, these are going to be what you're going to use, 3-inch chlorinating tablets. If you have like a small spa or something along those lines with a 1-inch chlorinating tablet, this is going to be our 1-inch chlorinating tablets. And then the other things for chlorine wise, we're going to want to have some liquid. The liquid it's basically a shock. If you come out and say your pool pump stopped working or something and you've got some green going on in your pool, adding this chlorine, the liquid, is going to be your quickest way to kind of get moving on that, get that going, as well as your granular shock. These are basically two things you're going to use to shock your pool. Either, after you have a really large party, a lot of your chlorine's going to kind of get eaten up by your, all the bodies in the water and stuff, or if you've just got an algae problem and something's starting to grow in your pool. These are definitely super important to use and have on hand if something like that happens, so you can just get that chlorine going right away. Now I'm going to go into some of your stuff that you're going to use a little less often, but it is nice to have on hand. Your stabilizer is basically a cyanuric acid. This is going to help stabilize your chlorine. For the most part, if your pool's not leaking, if you're not, leaking a bunch of water out of your pool, this is going to stay pretty steady in your pool. So this goes directly into your skimmer when you add it. Everything else, for the most part, can be added into your pool. This has to go into your skimmer. It's a lot harder, granular, and it takes a lot longer for it to dissolve, and you just don't want it sitting at the bottom of your pool. So this is going to help stabilize your chlorine. Next, I'm going to have a soda ash. If your pH is low, anything under about 7, you're going to want to bring that pH up, and that's what your soda ash is going to be used for. It doesn't take much. One thing that I do a lot is if I'm adding this, if it's low, I can tell whether I need to add more by putting some in and watching the white cloud. If it disappears pretty quickly, I need to add a little bit more. If the white cloud kind of hangs around, you're probably good and you don't need to add any more of this. My next one's going to be sodium bicarbonate. It's going to control my alkalinity. If my alkalinity is low, I need to add some sodium bicarbonate to the pool to bring my alkalinity up. This is what you want to do to basically control your pH as well. So alkalinity is first. You get your alkalinity into your range where you need to be, which is 80 to 120. Then you're going to control your pH with the soda ash. So if you're adding your sodium bicarb to get your alkalinity up, you need to do this first before you do the soda ash. Next one, it's just helpful. You get dirt, anything like that in your pool. This is a flocculant, pretty much. It's a clarifier. Again, you can either put this into your skimmer basket. It's going to basically catch all your dirt. It's going to clump it together, catch all your dirt, and put it into your filters. You can also disperse it into the pool as well. At that point, it's going to clump all that dirt together, and it's going to drop it to the bottom of the pool for you to vacuum. Algicide is another thing that we are going to use. Not often, but you get a pool sometimes that, you know, big party, the chlorinator stopped working, the pump stopped working, something along those lines. Your algicide is really going to help you get rid of that algae quicker than just putting a chlorine or something in there. So this, along with the chlorine, is going to get rid of that algicide a lot faster. And the last thing, if you have a salt pool, this is going to be a bag of salt. Just like with our stabilizer, once you have a good salt content in your pool, unless you're losing a lot of water or you have a leak or a bunch of people got in and splashed a whole bunch of water out of your pool, you're not going to have to add this very often. But if your salt is low, this is basically going to go straight into your pool and you brush it. You can put it into your skimmer. I don't really suggest doing that, basically because if you don't unplug your salt cell is going to see a big spike in your salt content. And that's your basic rundown of everything that we use as pool maintenance technicians, but also that you're going to need to keep your pool at home clean. That's going to be your rundown for your essentials to keep your pool clean, to keep your pool balance. If you're local here to St. George, we do have a store. You can shop in the link below. Free delivery for the greater St. George area. And if you have any questions about pool maintenance, leave a comment below. Also, subscribe to our channel, and we'll catch you next time.